Good afternoon, everybody. You are now watching the Checkup by Black Doctor or with Dr. Chanda, the Dope Black Doctor. Listen, today's show is going to be so exciting. I have two very good friends here with me. But before we get into that, I want to do a check-in. You guys know how we do on the Checkup with Dr. Chanda. We start with emotional awareness. So that's right. I want you to put in the comment section what exactly you're feeling right now. So give me an emoji, give me words. Let me know how you are feeling so that I can know that you have those emotional identification skills that we've been talking about over the past few weeks. While you guys are doing that, do me a favor and share this live, because I promise you, you do not want to miss this information. Like, I promise you, this information is going to blow your mind. So today we have some amazing experts. If you have not heard of them before, I promise you, like, you're going to be like, why didn't I hear about them before? So again, put those emojis inside of the comment section. Let me know how you're feeling. So let me know while you guys are continuing to put your emojis or your comments in the comment section. I'm going to continue to talk so that you guys can have time to share the live. And so you guys know the next part of the show, we go into our mental health trivia, y'all. So mental health trivia. Mental health trivia is our way of spreading awareness in the Black community pertaining to mental health in our community. So today's trivia question is, are y'all ready? Y'all ready? Get your notepads out. Okay, so I want you to write 3 different diagnoses related to anxiety. So what diagnoses come to mind? Think about it. Write it down in the comment section. At the end of the show, we'll let you know what it is. All right. So like I said, we have some amazing guests today, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Just to remind you all, you are now watching the Checkup with Dr. Chanda every Friday at 3:00 p.m., where we're talking about all things related to Black mental health. So today I have Dr. Salaam and Dr. Delane. We are talking about things related to childhood depression and grief, and I cannot wait to get into this discussion. So we've been experiencing so many different things pertaining to the pandemic, things related to grief and loss, racial injustice. So many individuals have been talking about how they've been impacted, but have we really stopped and thought about how children are being impacted? During the childhood and adolescent years, this is when children should be socializing with their friends and really gaining those social skills that they need to utilize as adults. But sometimes we don't take a step back to think about how this is impacting them. So today, I have my good friends here talking about childhood grief and depression. So I have Dr. Salaam and Dr. Delane. You both are amazing. So I want you to briefly introduce yourselves and tell us where you guys are coming from.
Great. So I'm Dr. Delane Cassiano. I'm a general adult psychiatrist in the Philadelphia area, which means that I see adults who are 18 years and older with mental health problems. I'm an outpatient psychiatrist. And so I usually have someone come into my office, sit down, we talk and come up with a plan together. And I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm excited to have you. And Dr. Delane, I called you Dr. Delane, so I want to apologize for that, for getting your name wrong. But again, I appreciate you for coming.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Well, look, I'm equally delighted to be in the presence of these amazing sisters here, a psychologist and a psychiatrist. My name is Dr. Kareem Latif Salaam. I'm the medical director of an adolescent unit in the greater Philadelphia area. I am an inpatient psychiatrist. I care for kids who range in age between 13 and 17, really kids who are in crisis and they need to be in the hospital. So this is so exciting. Dr. Cassiano and I, we are founding members of Global Health Psychiatry, and it is our passion as we share a passion with Dr. Reynolds as well, Dr. Chanda, to really deliver mental health information to the people, to our community. So, you know, folks in our community could get the help that they need. And we really want to go after stigma, and we want to elevate and uplift the community through our work. So can't thank you enough for bringing us on to the check-in with Dr. Chanda. So excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you both. So you guys gave us beautiful introductions. So if you don't mind just giving us a little bit more information pertaining to GHP and I guess your missions and your value and like, what does it stand for?
Sure. I love to tell people about Global Health Psychiatry, GHP. So we are a group of African-American psychiatrists who are located all across the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast. And we've known each other for some time, so not to age us too much, but we've known each other for at least 10 to 15 years. When we were in our psychiatry training, a lot of us received funding, a fellowship, a scholarship, to be able to focus in African-American mental health. And we would go to different conferences, learn more about how culture influences the way that people see mental health and mental health treatments. But what we realized over these years is that a lot of us were sort of talking to other professionals. We weren't talking to the community. And that's what we came together to do. And so with Global Health Psychiatry, our first mission is to empower individuals, adults, children, and families through mental health education and community action. So we've written a few books about mental health. The first of which is Mind Matters, a resource guide to psychiatry for Black communities. And this is a book about common everyday mental health problems, from depression to anxiety, schizophrenia, substance use disorders, from aging disorders, childhood disorders, and written in common everyday language in a question and answer format, so that you could start from the beginning or you can start from the middle, from where your interests are. And it's just grown from there. We started to write books for children as well. And so as you can tell, we're very passionate about it. And we're so happy to be here to talk about it.
I think that's so amazing. Yeah, I have the book that Dr. Salaam had held up because it's needed, right? And I just love the mission, because you guys are doing the work. You're not just meeting across from like patients, but you're also going into the community. And that's what I love about GHP. Like I can feel the passion exuding through the screen, through my Wi-Fi.
Yes, before the pandemic, you could find us anywhere. You could find us in schools and churches and rec centers. We go where the people are.
That's amazing.
We set up outside the corner store if we're allowed to.
I love it.
Listen, as Dr. Cassiano mentioned, we go where the people are.
Yes.
And the avatar for our first book was a Black grandmother. So Mima, Nana, Mom, it was an African-American grandmother. And our approach is very conversational. We don't hide behind medical jargon.
Yeah.
We want to cut out the middleman or woman, and we want folks to consume the mental health literature that we write. And you don't need further explanation.
Yeah.
But but in the event you do, we can offer that as well. We don't want to erect barriers between ourselves and the community. And we figured there are no better ambassadors for African American mental health than the group of us. And so we decided to pool our resources to form the company Global Health Psychiatry, so we can go on this mission for the people. And in the setting of COVID, the silver lining is we've leveraged technology, just like we're doing now, to access a larger audience. And so, and to extend our geographic reach, right? So, folks could tune in from the comforts of their own homes if they have the technology. And that's afforded us different opportunities. We've done trainings for various organizations like the Brooklyn District Attorneys Association, the National Bar Association, for various churches and masjids, for the Philadelphia VA, the Philadelphia School District, whoever is motivated to hear us evangelize about African American mental health. We are there to provide the service, and we've been blessed with opportunities to present to organizations across the country, even in California. So that's some of the silver lining of COVID. And additionally, we've discussed the mental health impact of COVID as well.
Yeah. So as psychiatrists and Dr. Salaam, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Even during the pandemic, COVID-19. It's been rough for all of us. But I don't really think, unless you are like a psychiatrist or someone who is in the field of like working with children, I don't think that we paid enough attention in the media and like all these other avenues talking about how children are being impacted in COVID-19. So I'm wondering if you guys can share your medical perspectives and some things that you might have seen in your own clients when working with children during this pandemic, like things that they've been experiencing.
You know, as a child and adolescent psychiatrist, you know, we really see how these kids are struggling.
Yeah.
For example, the social isolation, the lack of social connection with peers. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the advantages of COVID really happening now is that this group of kids, they have tremendous facility with technology. Mm-hmm. One error I've seen in parenting is sometimes if a child kind of veers off the path, a limit might be set by taking the phone. But in the setting of COVID, that phone has become a lifeline.
Yes.
That is how they connect to their peers. And so when you do that, you're creating suffering. Mm-hmm. So by what other means could these young people connect with each other safely? Yeah. So I think that social isolation is a critical piece. You know, Dr. Cassiano, you know, I know you have a special angle on this, and please, you should share by all means.
Yes, yes. So the first thought that I had is that as an outpatient psychiatrist, I have been talking to patients by phone or video for the past year. Mm-hmm. The anniversary of the closures in our area is this weekend. And sometimes I say, you know, our bodies remember before our minds. And so there's really this trauma that we've all experienced where, you know, one day we were able to go out, go to school, go to work, and then the very next day, life changed. And as adults, we had that life experience to sort of draw upon. But for children, especially the young ones, they have nothing to compare it to in that sense. So I have a 7-year-old son. And so this topic is really near and dear to my heart. And I have to wonder if he's starting to realize that the anniversary of it is coming up. He might not have the language for it, but he certainly asked me, Mom, when is the pandemic going to be over? You know, I want to be able to go back to school. I want to see my friends. But as Dr. Salaam said, we are very fortunate. He's very technology savvy. And so we have worked very hard to keep him connected to family and friends throughout this entire pandemic. And we can't forget that. As he said, we have to keep in mind that how hard this is for them, nurture them, and keep them connected to the world around them.
That's so
Absolutely.
good.
Just one other thing I'd like to add is these kids, you know, we are where we are in terms of how old we are. I won't age any of us, but we've gone through important milestones outside of COVID. High school graduation.
Yes.
Having your friends sign your yearbook, senior night, your last athletic competition, band competition, you know, recitals, all those things, these young that we've taken for granted because we've experienced them, you know, they're well in our rearview mirrors, but these young people aren't getting that now. And so we really have to be tremendously empathic when we relate to them and think about what they're going through.
I think that's so good. I think the common theme that I'm hearing here is just being empathetic and kind of like putting yourself in your teenager shoes when it comes to trying to understand like, okay, what it is that they're experiencing, because you guys are right. Like we went to prom, like we had all these experiences in life, but when you're a teenager, you have your expectations of going to this. I know me personally, I was planning for my prom at what, like 10?
Yeah.
Like, so I can imagine how disappointing it is when you get there and it no longer happens. So, you know, any parents out there who are watching, the theme that we're hearing from these medical professionals is just to be empathetic. And that's so important. That message can go such a long way. Yeah. And so I know you guys have written a book, Bree's Journey to Joy. I'm so excited for this book. Just looking at the cover makes me excited. Can you show us the cover again?
Oh, we both have it.
Awesome. I love it. And the shirt.
And the shirt.
I love it. I love it. So this is a book that was written by Global Health Psychiatry. So what inspired you all to write this book for children?
Yes, so one of the stories, and we'll keep it sort of short, behind it is that we had had a previous book about called How Amari Learned to Love School Again, a story about ADHD. And that came out about a year before the pandemic. And we had hoped to have another book coming out. But with the pandemic, like many others, around the world, things got pushed back. Mm-hmm. We weren't able to meet the same way we do to collaborate and brainstorm for all of the ideas. And so what really happened over the past year is that the journey of Bree evolved. And so we wanted to bring a story to children to help them understand the loss that they might be experiencing during this time. So Bree is our little girl who loves school and she loves science. And she certainly loves spending time with her family, which includes her grandmother, Nana. And it walks us through her experiences when she loses her grandmother and how hard that is for children to understand, and what parents can do to come together and help their children through these really difficult times. And we wanted to use it in a way that would be still interesting to children. So you'll see we use a lot of bright colors. We use a child who looks like us, beautiful brown skin, to be able to bridge that connection with them, keep them interested on a very, very tough topic. And so as you can tell, we certainly love Bree, and you will hear us refer to her in that way, Bree's journey to joy. Yeah. How can we bring that journey back to these children?
And I'm going to plug, because I commented on Dr. Chanda's hair. I love her hair, and Bree's hair is very similar. So she has natural hairstyles. Yes. It varies between cornrows and a fro, and she is just so adorable. Our child protagonist in our book, Amari, his superpower was math. Bree's superpower is science. And these are stories of triumph about how their village, their parents, the educators who invest in them, and their doctors who look like them rallied around them to support them and get them through these mental health challenges. And so Dr. Cassiano was one of the leads on the project of Bree's Journey to Joy. And what she didn't mention was, we were supposed to drop Bree in April of 2020, but COVID changed that. Wow. So Bree was going to be a book about childhood grief and depression, but we said, let's remix Bree and make Bree more relevant to what's happening in the world now. So Bree is done in the setting of COVID. Mm-hmm. And the other beauty of our products, our children's books, How Amari Learned to Love School Again, a story about ADHD, and Bree's Journey to Joy. So you have the wonderful illustrations by a brother from Chicago, Tyrus Gaucher. Mm-hmm. But then you have the parent guide, written in a similar format to Mind Matters, question and answer format. And we talk about COVID, we talk about mental health, we talk about grief, we talk about depression. So these are books for the family. So the young children could enjoy the illustrated children's book, and then the parents could really absorb the information in the parent guide.
That's amazing.
It teaches them about, grief and loss, but also gives tips on how to talk to your children, how to help support them during this time. And as Dr. Salaam said, it was so important to really incorporate a lot of the topics that we're talking about here today to help parents and caregivers, educators get through this as well.
Yes. And I love how you all are kind of like harping on the collectivism that is inherent in communities of color, like not only just addressing how Bree is feeling as an individual, but how also like her parents are involved, the doctors are involved, the teachers are involved. And I think that really speaks to us in the Black community, because like you all said, it does take a village. And being that it does take a village, like the village needs to know how to respond to these symptoms that we might see represented in our children. So that's amazing. So, go ahead. I'm sorry, Doc.
That's the key word, representation.
Yes.
Representation matters. So I'm going to say it. When I was a young Black man in pursuit of medicine, my heroes had to be Black men because, you know, I needed men who were familiar with the journey I was traveling. And the same thing for women. And they had to look like me. Yes. And so sadly enough, my medical role models were Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable, Bill Cosby's character from The Cosby Show, and Ben Carson, right? And you know, so both of my medical heroes have faced challenges a little more recently, but I think the community has really advanced and made strides. So the youngsters now have more medical role models and heroes because representation matters. They get to see Dr. Chanda. They get to see Dr. Kassiana.
Especially when it comes to science. So as Dr. Salaam was telling his story, I remember when I started to become interested in being a physician, you know, my mother put me in every sort of program possible so that we could find my passion. But I remember I was due to shadow a few physicians around, learn more about pediatric surgery, and I wanted to wear my hair in braids because that's what I wanted to do. And there was sort of this question of, is it okay for me to come into the hospital? Is that professional? And I was like, but this is what I look like, and this is what my family looks like, and why is this such an issue, especially when it comes to science? It's so important to get girls involved in science, and I didn't have as many role models in science as women. There were a lot of the people who were showing me around were men. And so we wanted to have a little girl who was interested in science, who could be herself, right? And she could continue to grow. And we wanted to just show that to children. Everything, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And so that's why you will see Bree with different styles, different throughout the entire journey of her to show that range that we have.
Yes. I love that. And I think that even helps to teach the readers, the young children, just racial socialization at a young age, and to really just embrace who they are and not to feel the need to conform. I always say, if we had books where I was able to see young Black girls with hair like mine, I would have felt more comfortable wearing styles like this as a kid. I would like that's
right?
Right.
Yeah, I have a range, you know, and that's my prerogative, right? It's
exactly
unapologetically Black, right?
Absolutely.
I think I really admire the direction the country is moving in with this racial reckoning, because folks are feeling empowered and listen, you can't be anyone but who you are.
Exactly.
and I mean, we are such a beautiful and charismatic people. And there's so many of us who just don't realize just the immense swag and the resilience that we have, and how it's been commoditized and monetized and it's been appropriated. But everyone knows. Everyone knows, and it's time for the world to see that. So we live in a world now, you don't have to be someone you are not, because you can't.
Exactly.
Be you.
That's it. That's the only person you can be, unapologetically.
And during this time, we've had so many challenges when it comes to talking about race and ethnicity. I mean, the images that have been out there, right? We have been shown so many images over this past year that even young children and certainly the adolescents have seen it. Right. And it's confusing. And there's adults who are trying to make sense of it. And so, again, we wanted to introduce these topics in ways that were make it more comfortable for the children. And again, the parent guide helps to talk about these things, helps us to find a language. We didn't all sit around the dinner table, you know, talking about mental health and that sort of thing, but we're trying to change that, right? Like, just like how we try to talk about heart disease, diabetes, asthma. Well, let's talk about our mental health, right? It's a part of us. And so we want to learn that language.
Important. That's the command center, right?
Exactly. Definitely. And you're right. Like we've never really had those types of conversations. And I guess like a guide on how to have those conversations with our children. At least from my generation, I don't remember that happening. But what type of advice would you guys give to parents who might be watching, who do have children who might be experiencing some sort of depression or grief or whatever they're experiencing in the pandemic?
First thing I would say is, parents, trust your instincts. We're experts in mental health. You're experts in your children. So if you see your child is not functioning at their baseline level, you really have to ask. Yeah. So you can't try to hope and pray a problem away because it's inconvenient. So if you see your child is sulking, you should sit down with them and talk to them, find out what's going on. And guess what? Just the mere checking in is part of the healing process. Don't ignore it. Don't do like an ostrich and bury your head in the sand. Investigate, see what's going on. And if they're not ready to talk in that moment, you've planted a seed and you've sent an for them to talk to you when they're ready.
As an adult psychiatrist, what I would also add is to take care of yourself. Self-care, right? It's so important. So the reason that they tell you on the airplane to put the mask on yourself before you put it on a child is because if you put that mask on that child and then you can no longer breathe and you pass out, that child is defenseless. Mm-hmm. So you must put that mask on yourself first and foremost as well. And so just as Dr. Salaam was saying, to have an awareness for yourself, be honest with yourself, with your children. And if you need help, reach out. There are people out there who can help. We don't have to suffer in silence.
And we're not the only 3 Black mental health doctors in the world. There are more of us.
There are definitely more. And I love how, if nothing else, I think this pandemic has definitely brought to the forefront those doctors of color who are doing things for the community, who can be there as, beacons of light for our community and give the tools and strategies that people do need during this pandemic. So, that's why I commend you all so much, because you guys are doing the work in the trenches.
Right back.
I was just thinking, yep, this forum. It's this forum. This is exactly what we need for everyone. Something that's, accessible, convenient, that they can come back to. These are exactly why we do what we do.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please tell us where our viewers can buy the book, because I know there's so many people who are probably antsy right now just trying to buy these things.
So Amazon, you could purchase the books on Amazon. Now, when Mind Matters dropped in 2018 and Amari in 2019, we were slinging books in person and we would have back of the room situations. But in the setting of COVID, that's just not realistic. So everyone's using Amazon now. The books are available on Amazon. Please support them. And we are owners of Global Health Psychiatry. We control our own content. No one is telling us what we need to be writing. There are no focus groups that are informing what these Black doctors need to write for communities of color. They're coming from these beautiful Black minds. So please support it, because we're doing it for you. And so they're available on Amazon, and visit our website, www.ghpsychiatry.org. So ghpsychiatry.org, Global Health Psychiatry.
Awesome. Awesome. Would you all mind telling where our viewers can find you? So like, where can we stay connected? Is there an email? How can we find you?
Yes, I was going to say you could see us on social media. So at GH Psychiatry on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, that sort of thing. But our email address is info@ghpsychiatry.com. And so if you go to our website, you'll also see a link to our email, but you can contact us via email anytime. We have somebody who's dedicated to monitor our emails, and we'll respond. And so we're just a few keystrokes away, as they say, right?
That's right. We're on standby.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Dr. Chanda?
I think Dr. Chanda is frozen, but that's okay. She'll come back. She'll come back. This is a wonderful platform. I mean, I'm so thankful to be a part of this, to be able to connect with people directly. So, you know, and with what better company?
I was going to say, in these conversations, you know,
Yeah.
You and I could have these conversations sort of all day, every day. But one of the things that I've always enjoyed about GHP is the conversations that I didn't expect. You know, and so by having everything virtual, we're able to collaborate with our colleagues who are in Texas, right? So you and I are in the Philadelphia area, but, you know, next Tuesday, we can still have this conversation with our colleagues who are in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
You know, and then our reach is far and wide. And so I continue to just be so excited by what we're doing, that it's limitless.
There are no limits. Boy, you jumped right into my brain. I was thinking, no limits. What is that, like Master P? No limit. Yeah, and we have technology to thank for that. And so hopefully folks are really leveraging the technology to connect, you know, in the service of preserving their own mental health, right? And they're not really, this is not the time to take the technology away from these young people. That is their lifeline. So, you know, technology should be managed, but it shouldn't be completely taken away in the setting of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that you say that, because what I found with young children and you know, having a 7-year-old, and I'm sure it's happening with teenagers, but with all of the virtual learning, it has been really challenging to have that message for your children. Right. So one of the rules that I've read, since I am not a child psychiatrist, but we try to live by, is that, you know, that virtual time does not count as their screen time. Right. So you want to make sure that you make that clear to your children. It's sort of a double message, you know, that's a little hard for the younger kids, I think, to understand. Like, well, I can be on the computer all day, but why do I have to turn it off to go to bed? But it's really about setting the limits and using it responsibly, you know, teaching them, helping them to stay connected. We didn't plan on getting video games for our son for quite some time, but it was a way for him to stay connected with his friends, especially early on. And so it's really been a lifeline for him, just as you said. Yeah.
And you know, COVID forces you have to be flexible in your parenting. You really have to. COVID is a once in a 4-generation scenario, right? The last great pandemic was in 1918. Right. Many of our great grandparents, you know, if they were around then, they aren't now. Right. So this is a situation that folks experience once in a lifetime, and you have to inject some flexibility into your parenting, you know, when dealing with such a rare and unique event. And I'm not sure what will ever fully return to life as we knew it pre-COVID, especially with these platforms. It just makes things so much easier and it's so much more convenient.
We're forever changed, and it doesn't have to be for the worse.
No,
you know, it doesn't. There's growth opportunities in this. There really are.
Though I am looking forward to breaking bread with folks like you and Dr. Chanda in person. You know, I can't wait until, you know, we can do that safely.
Yeah.
And again, as physicians, we would be remiss if we didn't admit folks should stay safe, wear your masks, maintain your physical distancing. If you have an opportunity to get vaccinated, do so sooner versus later. Dr. Cassiano and we've both been vaccinated. As frontline workers, we were given opportunities to get the vaccine, and my experience was very positive. So I would really encourage folks to, follow the guidelines, follow the science, and stay safe and keep your family safe.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Are you all able to hear and see me okay now?
Yes.
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 Okay. We apologize for the technical difficulty. Not sure what happened there, but I do appreciate you all educating the viewers on the importance of the vaccine and just taking care of ourselves in the era of COVID. Any last words, any final things that you want to say? I appreciate the both of you for being here from the bottom of my heart.
Well, Dr. Chanda, we are delighted to be here, and we're really so grateful you were so kind and gracious to extend the invitation. I'm just going to echo what Dr. Cassiano said about self-care. Self-care is one of those things that can't be done for you, and it can't be prioritized for you. You have to do that.
Yes.
So, and my favorite, and this is not product promotion, but the slogan I live by is Nike slogan, just do it. Just do it. You don't have to, want to do it, need to do, just do it.
Yeah. And I want to thank you again, for having us. This has been a lot of fun, such a great conversation. And also to thank you for having this forum in general. This is exactly, what the world needs. And it's so important. And so I just want you to know that we support you and all that you do. And we thank you for it.
I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, this is the Checkup with Dr. Chanda and BlackDoctor.org, and we are signing out. Thank you so much, viewers, for listening, and stay tuned for next week at 3:00 p.m. on Friday for Black Mental Health Fridays.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I believe it's still ending.